Hey guys, Blue Collar Stacks here. Today I want to talk to you guys about something really important, and it's something that's really been bothering me the past, couple of months, especially, and it is the grifters out there. The You've seen them. The obvious ones are the John Ag, the all the silver Asian guy, AI Asian guy thing, but it's the AI British woman, the AI British man. They're these people that are coming up there and they're giving you pep talks. That's all they are. It's the same video over and over and over again. The Comex is going to run out of silver. Silver is going to be $300 in a couple of weeks. You're going to miss out. Turn that crap off. Okay, those are the obvious ones. The ones that I think are even more dangerous because they're real people, and I'm going to call people out right now, and if you want to sue me, come at it, bro. Come at me. Okay? Because you're hurting people. You may not think you are, but you are. And the biggest one is Ron's Basement. And then you have Salivate Metal, and then you have International Stacker. These guys are, to the best of my knowledge, because I've heard them say it, they're sponsored by bullion companies. They're sponsored. They take money from people that sell this stuff, and they push it. And they always say, "This is not saying financial advice. I'm not telling you to go out there and do this, but if you do, go to this bullion dealer who is sponsoring me." Yeah, they're making money on the video, getting you hyped up. And look at their thumbnails. They always, Ron's Basement constantly has $300 silver, $500 silver, $2,000 silver, $8,000, $10,000, $20,000 gold. It's literally in his thumbnails. And he's there. He's all, you're gonna be rich. Just buy this stuff now, because this is blah blah blah. He's not saying that because he's obviously wants to cover his ass, but that's what he's doing. He's getting you all hyped up, and a lot of people. And he says not to do this, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care what you guys do. As long as you're watching the videos and you're buying stuff from his sponsors, go out and buy this, because if you buy a ton of it, well, his silver price, supply and demand, the silver is going to go up, but it's volatile. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. And everybody's susceptible to this, man. I'm susceptible to it. I bought a little more than I should have over the past 3-4 months. Now, granted, I did pretty well. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I did sell 115 ounces of silver literally the day before it crashed. It was a pretty good sell. But I only did it because the day before that, I picked up, $11,000 in silver slabbed eagles. I got at the time was a really good price because it was pretty much spot for them. I got 110 69 and 70s, PCGS slabbed eagles. Ran a bunch of the years. I think there's only like 5 years that aren't there. But I bought, and then the next day I went down and I was like, you know what? I want to recoup a little bit. That was a lot more than I should have spent. $11,000 is a lot because it was 110 bucks for the spot price or the price at the time. So it's like, I went down to a big place that I don't know what their deal is. I know that I talked to them and they literally just send the stuff to the refinery immediately, especially something that 100 ounces, 115 ounces. He's like, yeah, we're literally as soon as we pay you, this is going out the door. I'm like, oh, awesome. It was generic bullion bars and stuff like that. So I covered that, but I did buy quite a bit. I probably had another 50 ounces that I bought since then. But that's only slightly above what I normally buy anyway. But I was like, oh, I had this fear of missing out, these slabbed eagles. I'm listening to all these guys. Silver's going to be 200, 300, 400, and it's going up, man. I mean, it's going crazy. The month of January started at what, 70 or 69 or something like that. I think it was like 70 was January 1st or something. Anyways, the point is, and now we're at 110 in a month. We've we've gone up $40 in a month. Silver was never at $40 for the past, except for 2 other times. It never passed $40 until October. And now it's got 40 up in a month, and it's like, oh man, this is crazy. And then the next day I was like, oh man, I had this pit in my stomach. That was a lot to spend on silver, and it can't keep going up like this. And then I sold it, and I was like, it went to 121, and then it closed at 116. And I was like, man, it's going up. It's still going up. And I questioned myself, because those videos that day, look at the videos that they have out that day. It's like, silver, it's going crazy, blah, blah, blah. I almost didn't sell that 115 ounces, but I just did. I was like, you know what, I got to cover this. It's just a little too much to spend. And then the next day, I woke up, like in the morning, like early in the morning, and I saw it, and I think the lowest I saw, I know it got lower, but it was like 68 in the morning. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I had this like pit in my stomach. I was like, it's crashing. How low is it going to go? Now I'm good, because my cost dollar average right now is in the high 30s. So it's like 37 and some change. If you don't know what cost dollar average is, that's what stackers use to like justify higher purchases. But it is a good thing to know what your cost dollar average is. If you bought at 2, 10 ounces at 2, and then also 10 ounces at 50, your cost dollar average is 26 something. So you bought a bunch of stuff at 50, but the total amount that you've spent on silver is right in the middle there. It's like 26. Not the best at math. It might be like, it's definitely not 26, but you get what I'm saying. So my point is that, I still, even though I bought and sold at that high, and I bought some stuff at like 90, I bought some stuff at like 95, that is, I'm still good with my total purchases. So, I'm up a lot still, even right now, even when it dropped down to like 61 at one point. I was still like, well, I'd still doubled my money if I sold now, so I'm still good. But my point is that, listening to those videos, I was like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Should I just hold on? I mean, what if I hold on to 300 and I sold everything? I'll be a millionaire with what I have, should I just wait? What? And I'm like, you know what, let's just get back what you spent on this. It's a little too much, and then stick with your plan. Spend like $200-300 a month, unless you sell like something, or like I have another video on, like if you have a lawnmower that you're not using, stuff like that, sell it, trade for silver. Awesome. Obviously if you need to turn the power on, you sell it and pay for the power. But, if you're already paid up, you have some savings in your account, you just don't have a lot to throw around for precious metals, especially at 75, 80 right now. If you got a pistol that you just is in your safe, it hasn't been out for years, has no sentimental value, and you could sell it for $500, shoot, it's like you can get 6-7 ounces for that, and that's responsible because you're taking a depreciable asset for an appreciable asset. So it's kind of one of those things where that is a good thing to do. What a not good thing to do is use your credit card, is to spend all your money, drain your savings account on the speculation that silver and gold are going to just keep rising to the freaking moon. And they will go up. In 10, 20, 30 years, you're going to see, a huge increase in the price of silver and gold. It's just how it's done for forever. If you go back to 1970, 72, 73, when we could buy gold again, it was $35 is what it started at, $35 an ounce, and now it's at like 47, 4,800, roughly. Yeah, it goes like this, but it goes like this. You pull back on the thing, and it does this. This is what it does. Silver, same thing. It's a slower arch, but it does this. So it's a good place to park your money. It's no different than putting it in a savings account, except if you go back the past 30 years, you have a 10% year over year yield on your money. That's average, 10 to 12, I think is what it is. Yield on your money, return on your money with precious metals. With a savings account, it's less than 1%. With T-bills and stuff like that, 4 to 7%. It's literally the best place to keep your money that has the least amount of risk. All right, there's 20-30% returns that involve a lot more risk. Are you willing to risk your money? Me, I'm not. I don't like to gamble. So I put my money where it's safer, has a good return, and it's going to come, I can use it when I need to use it. But going back to, again, I'm going to say their name, Salivate Metal, Ron's Basement, freaking International Stacker. They're making money off their sponsors. They're making money off their videos. They're making money off of, the price of silver and gold going up, and there's nothing wrong with that. But these guys have been doing it for years. They have a lot less risk. If they put $1,000 into silver, they're going to make more than that on their video. Okay? And if the price of silver goes down, they need a couple of bucks, it won't barely put a dent. If they could sell 100 ounces, at $50, if it dropped down to 50, they could sell 100 ounces for 50, even with taking it, they walk with a check for $4,500, $4,600 or something like that. And it barely puts a dent in their stack. Last time I looked, one of them had like 8,000 ounces. The other one was more than that. In today's money, that's over $500,000 just in silver. And they all hold gold too, and platinum, and palladium, and rhodium, and all this other stuff. These guys are sitting on stacks. Okay, they're not, worried so much about a $10, $15, $20 drop. Yeah, it would suck for them, but they're making their money off the videos. Their sponsors, they got just stacks and stacks and stacks of this stuff. They're going to be fine. But you're not. If you're just starting out, if you have been doing this for 4 or 5 months, and you were just seeing it go like this actually, and you're just I just got to put everything I have into it, and you bought. I know somebody that bought their first ever purchase. They bought that Thursday, Black Thursday, man. They bought a kilo. They bought some other stuff right there. It wasn't crazy. I mean, I want to say he spent $4,000 or $5,000, And some of you guys are going to, oh my God, $4,000 or $5,000 at 116. That's crazy. You know, yeah, that sucks. But you know what? He's still holding on to something that has value. It's less it's still valuable, but in fiat currency, he can exchange it for less than he could have when he bought it. So that was a bad thing. But here's the thing: if you're going into it thinking that you're going to buy it and then flip it, in a week or two and make $1,000, well, then you're doing the wrong thing. Don't do that. It's kind of like with the 2008 crisis with the mortgage defaults. Everybody was getting into these houses thinking, I'm going to flip it in 6 months and make $100,000, and I'll just keep doing that and get rich. And then the bottom fell out. That's essentially what happened. People were just like putting their money into it, and then the bottom fell out, and it's just what it is. So if you're listening to these guys for entertainment, that's fine, but just stick with your plan. The plan should always be, I've got 6 months of savings, fiat currency to pay my bills in case something bad happens. I can cover my bills. Now I have $200-$300 left over at the end of the month. After we've gone to the movies, after we've done this, or there's $300 left at the end of the month after I've already put the money in the savings and all that stuff. Okay, use that $300, buy some silver. That's a responsible thing to do. All right. And you do that month over month over month over 10, 20, 30 years, and doing that, and it can increase. At the end of the next month, you have $400 to put the $400 in. You have that 6 months of savings. So if something does come up and, you need a new alternator on your car, you can just go to your savings and pull that out, and you'll be fine. And this doesn't hurt you. It's a savings account basically in a different form. Just do that. Be responsible. And look at my video about free silver. It's there's other ways other than your paycheck to pay for this stuff. So just do it responsibly. Don't listen to these. Don't listen to the hype. Turn them off. And go on about your life. Do it responsibly. I still stand by my thing of, one of the most pushy things I've ever said was in that free silver video was, oh, I can't afford to buy silver. And I said, you can't afford not to. I stand by that. Because, again, over a long period of time, it makes good financial sense to do that, to put your money into something. You should always save, but this is the best way to save, is to put your money into precious metals. I stand by that. I don't think that's sensational. I don't think it's pushing you to do something that you can't really afford. Like I said, in the video, these are not ways that you're basically not eating or not having electricity or whatever to buy silver. This is for you, oh, I'm just making ends meet. Well, here's a way to get that extra money for your savings. And, instead of putting it in a bank account, you're putting it into something that appreciates better. Again, I stand by that. If you guys want to call me Solvent Metal One Basement and International Stacker, if you guys want to contact me, I'll have a discussion with you. I have no problem with that. What you're doing is wrong. Your thumbnails are wrong. And you need to really think about what you're doing. I truly believe, in my opinion, that you are hurting people. You may not think you are. pull back, be more responsible. Talk to people on the right ways to do it. And that's all I got to say about that. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Again, this is not my job. I never planned for it to be my job. This is just for me to, get some information to you guys from somebody that's been doing it for a little while and has been a little successful at it. But I'd like for my message to get to people, so that way people can do this the right way. It can benefit you and not hurt you. And that's it, man. You guys have a good Wednesday, or whatever day it is when you watch this. Blue Collar Stacks, goodbye.